This is the twisted tale of Jennifer Dulos, a Connecticut mom who went missing under some seriously suspicious circumstances. Let's dive right into the story. Jennifer Dulos was a 50-year-old mother of 5 living in New Canaan, Connecticut. She was known as a loving mom, a writer, and a generally decent person. Jennifer was well liked by her friends and community. She was the kind of person who seemed to have it all together, which made her sudden disappearance all the more shocking. She had been going through a messy divorce with her husband, Fotis Dulos, which, as it turns out, is a pretty crucial part of this story. On May 24, 2019, Jennifer vanished. She was last seen dropping her kids off at school. Later, her friends reported her missing when she missed several appointments, and her car was found abandoned near a park. Jennifer's friends and family knew immediately that something was terribly wrong. She was a responsible and dedicated mother, and it was completely out of character for her to just disappear without a word. Sounds pretty fishy, right? Well, that's just the beginning. Jennifer and Fotis were in the middle of a nasty divorce. They were fighting over everything: money, custody of their kids, you name it. The divorce was not just any regular legal battle, it was a full-blown war. Jennifer had moved out of their shared home and was living in a rental house in New Canaan. She had also accused Fotis of being controlling and having a bad temper. Fotis, on the other hand, had a new girlfriend, Michelle Troconis, and wasn't exactly handling the separation well. The tension between Jennifer and Fotis had been building up for years, and it seemed like it was only a matter of time before things boiled over. Now, let's get into the juicy details. After Jennifer disappeared, the police started finding some pretty damning evidence. They found traces of her blood in her garage, and surveillance footage showed someone who looked a lot like Fotis and Michelle dumping garbage bags in various locations. When the cops checked those bags, they found items stained with Jennifer's blood. Yikes! But let's back up a bit and look at the evidence in detail. Jennifer's blood was found in multiple spots in her garage, indicating a violent struggle. The blood spatter patterns suggested that Jennifer had been attacked with significant force. Additionally, police found signs of an attempt to clean up the blood, which pointed to a premeditated effort to cover up the crime. As the investigation continued, more surveillance footage came to light. Cameras captured a man matching Fotis's description riding a bike toward Jennifer's house on the morning she disappeared. This was suspicious because Fotis lived over an hour away in Farmington. What was he doing in New Canaan, especially on a bike? Then there were the infamous garbage bags. The footage showed Fotis and Michelle making multiple stops to dump these bags in different trash bins across Hartford. Inside the bags, police found a treasure trove of evidence: clothing, sponges, and cleaning supplies, all soaked in Jennifer's blood. There were even items that belonged to Jennifer, like her clothes and her mementos. It was clear that someone had tried to dispose of incriminating evidence in a hurry. Fotis and Michelle were arrested and charged with evidence tampering and hindering. Prosecution. Fotis kept insisting he had nothing to do with Jennifer's disappearance, but things just kept getting worse for him. More evidence popped up, like a borrowed car with Jennifer's DNA inside, and phone records showing Fotis's movements matching the locations where the bags were dumped. Fotis's lawyer tried to paint a different picture, claiming that Jennifer had staged her own disappearance to frame Fotis. They pointed to Jennifer's love of writing and her interest in crime novels as potential inspirations for such a plot. But honestly, this theory didn't hold much water, especially with the mountain of evidence stacking up against Fotis. As the investigation continued, the case against Fotis and Michelle got stronger. Witnesses reported seeing Fotis cleaning a truck and acting nervously. There were also allegations that Fotis had a financial motive, given that he was in a ton of debt and was hoping to avoid paying the hefty divorce settlement Jennifer was seeking. Fotis was a luxury home builder, but his business was struggling, and he was under immense financial pressure. In addition to the evidence found, there were also some pretty damning statements from Michelle Troconis. Initially, she stood by Fotis, but as the pressure mounted, her story began to change. In interviews with the police, Michelle admitted that she had lied to provide an alibi for Fotis. She also made cryptic comments about not knowing where Jennifer was and hinted at Fotis's involvement without directly implicating herself. Michelle's shifting narrative raised even more red flags and suggested that there was more to the story than she was letting on. The court proceedings dragged on. with Fotis and Michelle both maintaining their innocence. But then, in January 2020, things took a tragic turn. Fotis was found in his home, having attempted suicide. He was taken to the hospital but died a few days later. His death left many questions unanswered and added another layer of tragedy to an already heart-wrenching story. With Fotis gone, the focus shifted to Michelle. She faced multiple charges, including conspiracy to commit murder, and the evidence against her is substantial. Prosecutors argue that Michelle was not just an accessory, but actively involved in planning and covering up Jennifer's murder. Her erratic behavior and inconsistent statements have only made her look more guilty in the eyes of the law. In May 2024, Michelle Troconis was sentenced to 20 years in prison, suspended after she serves 14.5 years. This means she will be required to serve at least 14.5 years behind bars. Jennifer's body has never been found, which adds a haunting element to the story. Despite extensive searches, there's still no closure for her family. Her disappearance has left a huge void in the lives of her 5 children and everyone who knew her. The Dulos children were left to be raised by Jennifer's mother, who fought tirelessly to shield them from the media frenzy and the trauma of losing both parents in such a horrific way.